Hey guys, what's going on? Happy Wednesday. We're coming at you with another live video. I am Dr. Choffner, Doctor of Physical Therapy, as well as strength and conditioning coach, and I'm helping you get out of pain from home through our online system and explaining things in detail to you with how you can use these exercises to your advantage with a little bit of equipment from your basement or your garage gym. Okay, so we're going to talk about shoulder impingement relief. Where do I start, right? A lot of people get stuck. They don't know where to start with their shoulder impingement, or they may think they have impingement and they don't. If you're not sure, go back to our first video, which we did last week, and that's going to show you the different types of impingement, some of the tests you can do, and kind of see if you fit into that category of impingement or if you fit more into the tendonitis category, because they're both very, very similar. And we're going to talk about how to really differentiate impingement from shoulder bursitis or shoulder tendonitis tonight. Okay, so 4 things in detail. We're talking about the 3-test cluster on how to determine if you truly have shoulder impingement. There's something called the clinical prediction rule, and if all 3 of these tests are positive, you 100% have shoulder impingement. If 2 out of 3 are positive, you have a high likelihood of having it. If 1 out of 3 is positive, then you could possibly have it, but you might have to do some other tests and look at some imaging in more detail, like an X-ray or an MRI. All right, number 2 is why mobility is so important in the rehab process. Number 3 is why it's important to not stop after mobility and continue kind of going on and continue working on your shoulder joint. All right, number 4 is where stability comes into play. A lot of people never tackle that stability, and they get stuck after just mobilizing the shoulder, or the therapist works on it all the time, massages the muscles, gives it nice and loose, where it feels really good, but they never really truly improve and see those kind of improvements kind of stay and stick around. All right, so let's dive in. The 3-test cluster for tonight that we're talking about for shoulder impingement is number 1, positive Hawkins-Kennedy's test. Okay, it's just named after the person who created it. And all you're going to do, you can do this at home or have someone else do it if you want, right, is you're going to take, say my right arm is injured, I'm going to take my left hand, support my elbow, I'm going to bring my elbow kind of right in line with the shoulder, so it's out in front of me, and then I'm going to kind of bring my arm all the way down to internal rotation as far as I can. All right, and I'm going to really torque it here at the end. And if I had pinching or discomfort here in the front or side of the shoulder, then that's a positive test for shoulder impingement. Okay, you need to have pain and pinching associated with it. That's number 1. Number 2 is weakness with shoulder external rotation. So for this test, you would keep your arm at your side. So you keep your arm kind of right at your side here, and then you would push outwards this way into resistance. So if you take your left hand, put it on your wrist, and you push outwards this way, and you hold for 2 to 3 seconds, if you have pain or you feel a lot of weakness, like you can easily push through that left hand, right, then obviously it's weak, and that's a positive test for that. All right, that's weak external rotators for test number 2. All right, test number 3 is a painful positive arc of motion. All that means is you're going to take your hand nice and open, palm facing your body, with your arms straight, you're going to reach up and over your head like this. If you have pain, not at the bottom, but when you cross that shoulder line, like right here, and then that pain starts to go away, and then it comes back at the top. So pain in here in this plane, and then pain at the top, that's a painful positive arc of motion. Okay, that means you're getting some pinching and impingement going on there. So again, if all 3 of those tests are positive, you're most likely dealing with impingement 100%. If 2 out of 3 are positive, you have a high likelihood of 80% or more. If there's 1 out of 3, you have to look at some other things in detail, like an X-ray or an MRI, or some kind of further questioning with your physical therapist or your medical health practitioner, like your doctor. All right, so that's the first thing. Second topic for tonight is why is mobility so important? Mobility is so important because it never gets addressed. We went through a lot of kind of thoracic spine mobility exercises last month. If you haven't seen those, go back and watch them. They're going to cue you into why shoulder health is so important and kind of opening, mobilizing that thoracic spine. And you'll see that when we go through some exercises next week when we mobilize, but you have to start at the middle and work your way out. I've said that a bunch of times in the videos. You're probably sick of hearing it by this point if you've been watching. So mobility is so important because we need to have full range of motion at the joint before we can fully strengthen it. And if we don't, right, we're not going to be able to strengthen it properly, or we're going to have setbacks that keep happening and stopping us from progressing. Okay, so that is so important. We have to make sure we kind of get that full mobility because our muscles need to be able to fully lengthen and stretch and fully shorten and contract. Okay, if they can't do that, it's very, very hard to build up strength. There's something we do called isometrics to start, that's strengthening, and that's where you're kind of bringing your arm through a partial range of motion. Like if I had my hand against the wall and I would push it outwards this way, that's a simple exercise that we start with for a lot of people who have a rotator cuff tear or rotator cuff issue. It doesn't cause issues and pain, but they can still activate that muscle. But if you're holding a dumbbell and you're swinging out to the side, or holding a band doing it, you're going to get way more contraction because you're going through a greater range of motion. So typically, the greater the range of motion you go through, the more strength you can build up. And that's why mobility is so important. Number three is, why it's important to not stop after mobility. So mobility is only half of the equation. Like, I always kind of tell people, yes, you got to work on mobility so much over and over again. I sound like I'm kind of record just playing that gets stuck, right? And it just keeps replaying the same song over and over again. But, after mobility, you have to work on stability and strength. Stability and strength is the second part of the puzzle that easily gets forgotten. And a lot of times you lose that mobility if you just keep stretching, doing the same thing over and over again. So stability and strength is so important because you're going to help kind of connect your brain to your muscles and start adding load to your actual stretches, right? And start kind of increasing that kind of load tolerance put on those tendons of your rotator cuff and your muscles as well, those big muscle bellies. It's going to help increase blood flow there, get in more nutrition, help it to grow, increase its cross-sectional area, which is going to further increase your strength overall. So that's why strength is so important, and that's our number 4 topic for tonight, is where stability comes into play. All right, so stability is like doing an upside down kettlebell press. If you can tolerate that, it's kind of, holding a band kind of out like this and having someone push your arm in all different directions, right? You can do push-ups off of a stability ball or a physio ball. That's a great way to work on shoulder stability. You can do kind of plank taps, where you're in a kind of a push-up position, you're alternating tapping. All those are awesome exercises. They're going to create stability in your shoulder joint because they're very, very difficult to do, and they're going to challenge you in a way that doesn't normally get challenged. And that's how you build up good strength and resist a further injury from occurring, and you'll be able to recover a lot quicker if you do kind of suffer from an injury. So those are the 4 topics for tonight. Nice short video for you guys. Go back and watch, especially if you watch that test cluster again, where it's a clinical prediction rule. See if you have any positivity with all of those tests. If you do, then you're most likely dealing with shoulder impingement. You need to work on mobility first. And we're going to tackle the 3 best exercises for that next week. Then you need to work on stability second. We're going to tackle the 3 best exercises for stability the week after in 2 weeks, okay? So be sure to like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Comment down below. Check out our description where we have a lot of free things for you guys in terms of like Achilles tendon guides, hip impingement guides, and so much more. If you're watching on Facebook, feel free to comment below if you have questions. And stay tuned for next week where we go over those 3 best exercises for mobility. And, that's really going to spark your shoulder impingement treatment. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.